Dan Bilzerian is the proclaimed king of Instagram. Dan has 10.7 million followers on his account because of his love for girls, guns, and goats. This bearded badass is always seen lounging around a flock of half-naked females and a gang of celebrities. It's been reported that he's worth over $100 million, gaining most of his fortune from his professional poker career. The often shirtless 34-year-old is a flamboyant playboy and a social media magnate that lives a lavish lifestyle that many of us could never imagine. Despite being in the national limelight for so long, there's some things that people don't know about him. Here's 10 little-known facts about Dan Bilzerian. Bilzerian's wild ways has resulted in some very serious health repercussions. When he was 25, he suffered a double heart attack after a wild 4-day snowboarding vacation. Then, in 2011, his ticker gave out again after he flew between Maui and Las Vegas twice in 3 days. Doctors diagnosed him with having a pulmonary embolism. Friends of his say that Viagra, coke, ecstasy, alcohol, and 3 straight days of hard partying attributed to his latest heart attack. Bilzerian has a second career as an actor and stuntman. He's appeared in the film The Equalizer with Denzel Washington and the film Lone Survivor starring Mark Wahlberg. He also worked as a stunt double for Gerard Butler on Olympus Has Fallen. But he probably won't be scoring many more big Hollywood gigs after he sued Mark Wahlberg. Bilzerian reportedly loaned $1 million to the film's production company in exchange for 8 minutes of on-screen time, including 80 lines of dialogue. But in the final cut of the film, the producers cut his role to 1 line and less than 1 minute of on-screen time. Dan wasn't too happy about that, so he sued. His father, Paul Bilzerian, was a corporate con man. Paul was a private equity trader in the 1980s that was jailed for stock fraud. He and his shady business partners made millions off of what is described as pump and dump stock schemes. They would buy shares of a company and inflate the company's net worth. Right as the stocks began to fall, they would move the investments to offshore accounts. When Dan was only 10 years old, his father walked up to him and told him that he was going to jail. After his release in 1993, Paul was sent back to jail in 2001 for not fully disclosing how much money he really had left from the frauds. In August 2014, Bilzerian was banned from a Miami nightclub for allegedly kicking a woman in the face. Model Vanessa Castano was the person on the receiving end of the kick. A very grainy video surfaced online showing Dan on stage and kicking his foot forward. Vanessa claimed to be kicked in the face with his military boot, and she bled from the face and eye. She describes Dan as a menacing trust fund recipient. Recently, the police investigation was closed and all the charges against him were dropped. Dan said in an interview, "I don't believe in violence against women. I would never assault a woman. It got blown so far out of proportion." This wasn't the first time that Dan got into trouble with the opposite sex. One time, he threw a fully naked porn star off of a roof into a pool. They were doing a photo shoot for Hustler magazine. Dan picked up the porn star, Janice Griffith, by the crotch and boob and gave her a toss. But on the way down, she broke her foot by clipping it on the side of the pool. She subsequently sued Dan and Hustler magazine. Bilzerian claims no responsibility since they were only following the instructions of the magazine, and she grabbed his shirt before being thrown, hindering the forward momentum. She says the worst part about the whole thing was that Bilzerian never once apologized for the accident. Australia has, in the past, disallowed visas for American celebrities, including Eminem and Snoop Dogg. Well, you can add Dan Bilzerian to the list. After the nightclub kicking incident, Australia blocked his entry into the country. Dan was planning an impromptu visit to the land down under when Immigration Minister Scott Morrison denied to sign off on his temporary visa. Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott supported the decision and has stated off the record, "If you're going to assault a woman, then make sure the cameras aren't rolling." Dan responded to the ban as only he can by saying, and I quote, "I don't give a f***. Australia looks like shit anyways. I'd prefer to stay home with my cat and sleep with women that I hate." Dan received his first gun when he was only 6 years old, and ever since then he's had a fascination with them. This fetish for firearms got him into a lot of trouble his senior year of high school. He bragged to his friends about bringing an M16 to school in the trunk of his car. When school administrators found out about the weapon, he was kicked out of school and thrown in jail for 3 weeks. Since then, his love for guns has grown leaps and bounds. Each one of his various homes has a small armament of heavy artillery. He was recently quoted saying, "My greatest fear is that someone will break in and I won't be able to decide what gun to shoot them with." Other than his collection of guns, Dan likes to affix his wrist with lavish and expensive timepieces. But just how many does the man own? It's reported that he owns over 100 watches, the cheapest one being $40,000 and the most expensive one being worth an astounding $800,000. In his own words, Dan spends money on watches like a 16-year-old with a blank check. When asked in an interview what his favorite watch was, he answered, "The newest watch that I buy is always my favorite one." Dan is a philanthropist and, according to his friends, an all-around nice guy. He once lent $2,000 to a close friend and fellow professional poker player, Jay Farber, to enter a poker tournament. Jay ended up placing second in the tournament and walked away with an outstanding $5 million prize. Jay was so grateful for the initial loan that he gave Dan $1 million. Not only that, he also gave Dan a goat. Dan was very grateful for the gifts, but he didn't want that goat to be lonely, so he bought another goat to accompany his barnyard buddy. While Dan is sitting just under 11 million Instagram followers, his cat Smushball has over 799,000 loyal fans. This is Dan's 2-year-old female Persian doll face. Her Instagram account has about 400 pictures of her in various outfits and poses. She's usually pruned to look like a lion, complete with a mane and a little tuft of hair at the end of her tail. Her owner likes to pose in a few photos too, holding Smushball in his arms.